Welcome everybody to Nothing Less Than Extraordinary. Super, super exciting today. I got a beautiful friend. She's look at her beautiful smile.
Oh God, I'm grinning like a cat.
Like that. I mean, seriously, I have Maxine with me, Maxine Tolbert, and I'm so excited to have you here. Welcome to the platform.
Oh, thank you, Reed, and thank you for inviting me. This is a great opportunity, and I love your energy. So I'm looking forward to having some fun.
Our energy is the same, so it's compatible. So let me do a brief intro, but today's topic is how women are compelled to do everything and all at the same time. Let's correct the title. I think I might have missed the last part. So how women feel compelled to do it all.
Well, actually, I think we agreed. What happens when women feel compelled to do it all?
There you go. Love it. Love it. Two brains always better than one.
Absolutely. And we're doing it together.
Right. I love that. And so a little brief intro of Maxine. So just Maxine is actually a certified and an accredited life and success coach. She is a neuroscience informed and a certified NLP practitioner. Boo, stumbling on my word here. Maxine Tolbert refers herself as best life advocate. I love that. She is the founder and CEO of her coaching business, Expectation Reset, established in Florida, USA. Very, very good. And we're going to dive more into that. You're going to get to discover her a little bit more. So Maxim, before we go into that, first of all, like I love the connection of Maxim. I love having very positive vibe, energy people on my podcast. And you're one of those. Every time I look at you, it's just brings a lot of joy. So I know my audience gonna enjoy that too. So Maxine, tell us just a little. Tell us just
You got me there.
Well, it's all the credits to you, seriously.
Oh,
Maxine. You had such an amazing life and a lot of journey. So I wanted to know a little bit for our audience to get to discover you. Tell me a little bit about how you grew up, your childhood a little bit, and then how you got into marriage. We'll go into that and, raising kids and all of the responsibility. And then to getting to your third marriage. And, that is quite a journey there. So bring us back to the very beginning.
Ooh, ooh. So I grew up in the
UK. Able to cover it all in just
okay,
but definitely
squeeze it in there, but keep some juicy stuff there too. Born in the UK. Family siblings of four, so I was one fourth, second born. So I was the most independent, right? Because the second born is always that. But I was the most lively too. So I think I was the most challenging for my parents to bring up. But had a fun childhood, but we didn't have a lot. And in all reality, my mum and dad were very young, and my mum had first three of us very close together. So we kind of grew up in that little bit of a scarcity mindset. And just to set the stage as well, my mum and dad were children of World War II. So they were 4 years old, 5 years old in their developmental stages when they were going through being bombed, all this wonderful good stuff. So I don't want to get too heavy, but it caused them to have a different mindset that perhaps others are more used to or familiar with, because war affects everybody.
Yeah.
But they grew up not knowing that they were living small. I mean, staying safe, secure, just keeping everything small, because being seen, being heard, being vocal was dangerous, literally. So anyway, from that, I left home darn early. Couldn't wait to get away because of that independent little bit me, and left home 18. And I bought my first house at 24.
Wow.
Well, on my own, and was out to just rule the world. I was fierce. I was that girl who was just on a gobbling life up, because there's so much to do. I love to travel. I went to America a couple of times on my own, met some friends there, just lapped it up. But then I got to the age where first marriage came along, and I was a little naive of relationships. So I managed to find myself with a man who was extremely charming. Danger sign, by the way. Excessively
Listen
charming.
carefully, danger signs for sure. We
Yeah.
learned from experience that this is both me and Maxine and so many other women.
Oh gosh. Well, think about it, because when people are overly charming, they're usually hiding something, or they're usually trying to manipulate a certain outcome. And I was naive enough at 24 not to recognize it. But I also, now looking back, needed to be loved. I needed to feel needed. So the childhood I had made me hungry for that love and attention.
Mhm.
He was not a good pick. So he was, I'm going to be blunt, emotionally and physically abusive.
Mm.
And 6 years later, I got out with a 1.5-year-old and
Mhm.
myself,
Mhm.
and had to reinvent my life
Mhm.
with nothing. I was left with nothing other than debt, lots
Mhm.
and lots of debt.
Let's just pause on that because that's a really important one for people to sink in. And
Mm.
we say this to you because we want to be able to do prevention as well for women because we're both in a relationship. And Maxine is actually in helping women to really rediscover themselves and really tap into their own power and find the identity of juggling all of those things of being a wife and then raising kid, all of the responsibility, job and a career and a business, not losing herself in that. So her journey really kind of teaches, and similar to my journey, slightly different, although charming individual, not knowing. Similar to you, I was 21. In my culture we couldn't date. It was not permitted unless you marry the person, which is, thinking back, it was just crazy. Like, how would you know if a person is good if you have no dating experience or even how to relate to the opposite sex,
Right. When you're 21 as well, I mean, your brain hasn't fully formed. That prefrontal cortex of your executive decision making isn't wholly there. It's there before in women, but not in men. Not in men.
Yeah.
So,
And when you something that you said that I want people to really reflect, for women to reflect on, as well for male too, because it could be charming for the woman as well. There are women
yeah.
who are super seductive and can really manipulate very well and so subtle, and actually they're quite skilled at it too. How they do, I have no idea because I don't even know how to do that.
Good. It means you're not one of those. That's good
Yeah.
sign.
Um, but when you talk about at that age being so young and being seduced by this and coming from a family where you needed to be loved, and I also at that point I was very well loved by my parents and stuff, but you wanted to have your independence, you wanted to grow your wings, and you wanted to go in the big world and explore, all those exciting things. And then the moment somebody shows you love and attention and affection and they're so charming, that just be careful. And then also listen with a grain of salt. I didn't listen to the people around me, my close network, my friends and family. Every single one of them told me not to get involved. And yet I didn't listen. So you may make the same mistake. We hope
I
not.
did.
We
I
hope
had
that,
friends who did
yeah.
that too. Listen to your friends who know you. You
Yes.
might not want to hear it, but they're not doing it out of ill intent, are they? They're trying to alert you, or open your eyes a little bit, because love is deaf, dumb, and blind. It really is.
It really is.
You shut down, and the hormonal reaction of love causes that to happen. But you got to pay attention, and those people know you best.
Yeah.
So,
And I like, if I really look back in my background really quickly, I am a stubborn human being. Um, and sometimes, friends, they do their very best, but I think if I were to redo it again, I probably repeat the same mistake because there was my best friend. She was the only one that made me feel okay, and I thanked her. She knew that I wasn't making the right decision, but yet she chose to stand behind my decision. Not stand behind it. She wasn't raving for it, but she made me feel safe in the sense that she knew no matter what she told me, I would do it anyway. So might as well do it in supporting me. And I thank her for that, because I knew, because then I didn't feel so alone in this. And I knew, like, sometimes when we're so stubborn and we have this need to do something, and no matter the danger and no matter what anybody tells us, if that's your case, just, be careful and stay surrounded. I mean, I'll probably repeat that same, if I had to redo it, I would have probably repeat the same thing. But I always say, just keep the, if somebody did tell me that, I probably had the alarm there, and I probably would have got out of my marriage sooner or seen the signs sooner. But because I wasn't aware of that, so just pay
Yeah.
attention.
Well, we also have that fundamental human trait to want to be right.
Yeah.
We crave to be right. And if somebody tries to prove us wrong, we'll dig our heels in to be even more determined to prove that we're right.
Yeah.
And that's just it's a silly trait that we have, but we all tend to do it. And
Yeah.
what we're doing is avoiding having to identify that we may be wrong or flawed, or there's something that we just won't want to be accountable for. So we just stick in, and it's okay, because that grit and stubbornness can work wonders in the right time and place. But not when it comes to a relationship, I think.
Just know your strength and your weaknesses, and we tell you these things because we want to be able to help you, but if you do make the mistake, it's okay. I don't want anybody to beat themselves up if they
Oh
find
gosh, no, it's a lesson. Oh my God, I got so much lesson, and I got a beautiful daughter from the relationship, so I don't regret any of it. And it seems weird to people when I say that, because there's no regrets there. There's no regrets at all. I learned so much, and it actually launched me to coming to the USA.
Yes.
So from that, when I escaped that, I was a single mom for 6.5 years. That's hard. That's hard.
Yes.
But I bonded so well with my daughter, but my walls were up to any other relationship. And then I met somebody else, an American Air Force special ops person.
That's also very seductive, seductive.
Very completely different, right? And of course, I was intrigued. That little adventurous Maxine was like, "Oh, what is this?"
Yeah.
Right? So struck up a relationship. Everything was great. Loved it. He loved my daughter. She kind of bonded with him. So within a year of meeting, we weren't married yet. I came to the States on an American fiance visa. So if you ever watch that silly program, American Fiance or Fiance, but whatever that is, one of those, but it's not the same. But I went through that whole thing. So landing here in the US, had to get married within 3 months. Well, he was in special ops, had to get deployed. So we had to get married in less than 90 days.
Wow.
So I had nobody who could come over in that space of time from my family or friends or anybody else. So we had a wedding that was kind of like out on the lawn of somebody's house, and a big celebration after, and I knew about 6 people there.
Yeah.
My whole wedding. So, looking back, it was like, oh my God, I mean, I really had to kind of, I don't know, dig deep to do that kind of thing. Anyway, 10 years later, he retires from the military and gets a little lost himself. And I was very independent. It suited me perfectly, because he was always away, always 3 months at a time, 2 months at a time. But I also married into a family with 2 other stepchildren. He had been married twice before with 2 children.
Okay.
I did not anticipate the mess that I walked into.
Right.
And the disjointed, dysfunctional dynamic that was going on.
What was going through your process and thinking? I'm just thinking for other women that
shock. You just so I'm in a strange country. I'm driven to get married within a certain space of time or go back within 90 days, right? With my daughter, I'd sold my head. I had very little to go back to. I'd kind of cut the ties a little. So I would have had to move back into parents or friend, and I'm like, not doing that. I've got a daughter. It's not just me. So stubborn pride kicked in. I can make this work.
Yes, I did the same.
Yes, I can.
Yeah. I'm a
So
strong woman.
I am a strong woman, and my biggest thing was I'd left my family behind. This is what God had given me, the situation that God had given me. So I better get to fixing it, right? I better make this work. So I became the glue. That's what I did. I fixed everybody else, and I fixed relationships, established relationships, collaborated with the exes as much as I could. Very, very difficult. Did it all on my own, got a job. I mean, I had to do all of it, absent really any support at all. And I did it, but I didn't know I was working in survival mode. That's really what I was doing. I was fighting off all of the demons and every single thing that came my way in survival mode.
Yeah.
And I was unhappy, deeply unhappy, unfulfilled, but also lonely. I'd never felt more lonely in my life.
Yeah.
But anyway, we recovered that. We had a good life. All the kids, you know, they kind of had to go off on their different ways because different parents have different ideas, and I was just the stepmom, kept my daughter close. But after 10 years and he retired, he wanted to kick back and just let me continue to do everything. And I'm like, no, no, your turn to step up. I was the breadwinner. I earned the most money. I was completely self-sufficient, and he loved it because he didn't have to be accountable for anything. So, you know, that's fine when you do that back and forth in a relationship, because you all have times, particularly in, you know, a romantic relationship, marriage, partnership, whatever you may have, you take leads at different times, right? It's a yin and a yang. You're never equals at the same time. That doesn't happen that way in a relationship. One is always slightly in lead of the other, and you give and you take, and that's that collaboration that is marriage. It takes work. You can't have one person giving 80 and the other person giving 20 all of the time. And that's what happened. So I divorced that.
I want to pause on that one, that second relationship, something that you said that is crucial for people to remember. One is the need for us to do it all. Like, you know, I gotta fix this. And this is also something that we fall into for as this female, the need to fix things. Like, I can do this. It does. The world may be crushing on you and you're like, I think I can do this. And then you do it, and then you do it, and then years go by, and then you realize you just basically sell your soul, and destroyed every part of who you are. If you find yourself in that situation where you're like, I gotta fix this man, I can change him. I mean, I knew I was guilty of that. I was like, there was a part of me, there's a huge pride in wanting to change a man. Like, my love is so special compared to all the other women. She wasn't able to fix him, but I would be the one to be able to fix him. Like, seriously.
Well, who the heck did I think I was? I mean, I was trying to actually fix more than just him. He needed a lot of love and support, and I was willing to give it. I needed to be needed again. There was that same mistake in me. I was attracted to the wrong type of person. I was attracted to the man who needed nurturing himself, a man who had, in both cases, a mother wound, as they call it, where their relationship with their own mother was not healthy or absent, completely absent for whatever reasons. But there I was again. So I was fixing the kids. I was fixing his ex-marriages and the dynamics there. I was trying to maintain my relationship with my daughter and my family back home. I was trying to get used to the military life. Oh my God. So, yeah, it wasn't just about fixing him. It was creating an environment where it could function properly.
Yeah.
Who knew what properly was? It was so dysfunctional. There was no amount of fixing that any one person could ever do. So what the heck? But again, stubborn pride, right? I didn't want to give in. And yes, we as women are nurturers by nature, biologically and mentally, right? We carry babies, we give birth, we have all the hormonal changes, we put it out there, and we have this level of responsibility, I think, up here and mostly in our hearts, that the survival, the well-being of what we have produced is our fundamental job, because we're the mum, right? We're the mum. We're responsible.
Challenge
Oh,
that.
yeah. So, and it carries over though. But also there's that societal expectation that that's the woman's role.
Yes.
And we see it everywhere. And it's subtle at times. It's straight in your face sometimes. It's also when women judge each other on it. Well, she can't be a very good mom if XYZ has happened. Yes. We can be quite wicked to each other. But it's that level of expectation that we put upon ourselves, women in particular, that is just insurmountable and totally unfair, and let's face it, unrealistic. And we shame each other. We really do, because that's what we try and avoid when we're trying to do everything. We're trying to avoid the shame of, we can't do it. You should be doing it. You have to do it. You're expected to do it. If you're a great woman, you can have it all. That is a crock of lies. And anybody who ever says that now, I get so upset, because it's unreasonable. Unreasonable. What happened to teamwork? Why does the woman have to carry that all on her own? And it's soul destroying, because what we do is that survival mode. We step into the role of, well, what wiggle room do we have? And the only maneuvering room we have is to neglect our own well-being. So we neglect the things that bring us love and joy. Right? We stop doing things that we really personally find fulfilling. We deny ourselves things that we want, need, right? But mostly we deny ourselves the time in order to be able to do everything else that is on our list, in order to be who we think we need to be. And when you habitually do that, it's a habit. You become dismissive of yourself, and then all of a sudden something happens. And it's usually a loss of some kind, right? Something happens to jolt you out of this way of functioning that makes you realize, I don't know who I am anymore, because you can't make a decision. You get paralyzed, you get overwhelmed, and now you feel a little, not resentful, but you can feel a little, well, what the heck? I've worked so hard, I've done so much for others, but now I don't matter anymore, right? So you're presented with divorce, separation. Your kids leave home. You need to relocate or change, where you're living. Your career changes through, unintentional things. Corporate America does that to many people many times now, right? Unexpected detour, or you're let go. You're older, probably having challenges with your parents or your siblings, looking after parents. There's all of these things that happen in relationships, and they all kind of culminate into one common thing, which is a felt loss. So not only you get all these expectations, but what wakes you up is a loss. And a loss means you have to grieve. Now, guess what? You're not only grieving yourself and your own personal felt loss of who you are, but you're actually presented with the real grieving of dealing with the practical loss of someone else. It's overwhelming. It is. And women's go, where do you turn? Where do you turn? You're not even trusting yourself with good decisions.
You
What do you
lost
do?
yourself. You don't even hear your own intuition and your own need because for years, that's all you did is tend to everybody else's needs. So your own voice and your own desire and your own wants has been so dimmered down that you can't even hear it anymore. Even when you're perking your ear, you're like, what are you saying? You don't know. So it's on the journey to discovering again, which is what you do. It's your specialty. So tell us more about that, Maxine.
Oh goodness. Well, do you know, it's funny. I came to this, what I'm calling a more focused area of coaching, more by watching who was coming to me. So I started doing mindset coaching and success coaching, right? And really coaching my peers, ex-corporate America. I was it. I mean, I had the highfalutin job and title and all the money and all the rest of it. I burned out. It wasn't me. It didn't serve me. I was playing a role that sucked me dry. But I did it for the money. I chased the money and this prestige. But it became such a big part of my identity. It made me ill. So I did the really sensible thing of just quitting. Don't do that, people. Get help. Don't just quit. The recovery is much more painful and it takes a lot of explaining to others. I literally had to rescue myself. I did do that literal mental breakdown. So in the process of coming to coaching, I realized that mindset coaching, where you're not an island, you do need community, and your perspective of self and the many variations of what that involves is paramount to how you navigate your own world and the decisions that you make. So you need to get to know what that is, and you need to understand what drives you, all of that wonderful stuff. So the women that were coming to me felt that same thing. And I just thought, well, it's a mindset thing, right? It's you just need to broaden your perspective. But the more I looked at the women who were coming to me, the more I realized that they all had something in common. They were all struggling with the doing it all, but they were also had lost themselves through the process of what we lovingly refer to as nurturing and launching their families and other people who rely on them. And then they were left as empty vessels and into that habitual place that they were. So then I felt like, well, okay, but these women who I'm working with, they're different. A lot of that is going on, but these people are coming to me. They're searching for help. Why is that? And it was a light bulb. All of a sudden I realized, well, some big event had happened that forced them to have to look at themselves in the mirror,
right,
and do something. There was a sense of urgency pushing them because they couldn't exist like that anymore. So they were forced to make such a considerable change, and it's usually something was taken away from them. And now all of a sudden, ta-da! So what I do, and I love it because the transformation is just so refreshing for me, and we strip it down. We take it all back to the basics. Right? I work with who they are. No fuss, no muss. We just go right into finding what their core values are. And I go through quite an elaborate process to do that. And it involves a lot of inquisitive stuff, and it's kind of a thing that I've made up myself to get them to look at it, audit, test it, try it again, right? So it distills down to some, usually 3 or 4 key core values. Then we look at their strengths. Nobody has weaknesses. They're all lesser strengths. I don't like that word weakness. So we look at all their strengths. We look at what drives them, what helps them make decisions, but we also look at their belief systems, because there's a lot of stuff there that isn't really wholly theirs and it doesn't serve them. So that's where the NLP comes in. And we strip it all down, and we figure out what they've got. They're their chess pieces. They're their superpowers, because that's them. That's their innate inner selves. And then we look to see how they're using that, all of that wonderful good stuff, all those pretty gems that they have that they've lost sight of. They forgot they had it in a bag, right? They now start looking at it. And they're usually very excited at this point because they remember where it came from and how they've used it in the past. And they start reconnecting some of those dots and some of those memories and realize that I am powerful. I've just chosen to not use it or apply it in the wrong place at perhaps the wrong time with the wrong people. So we start building it up. We look at the area of their life where if they were to focus on it, they could make the most impactful change.
Yeah.
We work on a big goal. We identify a big goal.
Yeah.
Then we look at really if that is a well-formed goal, well-formed outcome, what do they want at the end of that? Why is it important? Is it achievable? What other ecological systems are going to be messed up if you go this way? I want to be an opera singer. Okay, well, that outcome may not serve them as well as they might think. It could be a hobby, but so I'm just making fun. But that whole process of doing that, and then we break it, we get that big goal, and then we start breaking it down into much smaller steps, and off we go on a journey of that discovery. But they've now got a new compass. They've got a new roadmap, and we explore. We go back and we go forward. We go back to understand so they can go forward. So we look at lots of different things that have caused them to think certain ways, to do certain things.
It's a shift. Yeah.
It's a total shift, but I do it in a way that makes them curious to learn more about themselves. And also entice them to really go out and search for more on their own, because I can't do this work for them.
No.
If they're not inspired to learn more about why they do or why they've done some of the things they've done in the past, what are their patterns of behaviors? Can't correct it. Or maybe it doesn't need correcting, really, it needs tweaking. But also forgiveness lays there, because neurologically, we're often fighting our own brains.
Absolutely.
When we change, when we try and make a change, our brains do not want to change.
Well, it's trying to protect us. That's what it does, right? It's signaling danger and the unknown and the scary and the unfamiliar and all of the belief that was passed on to us that most of the time we thought is ours, but it doesn't even belongs to us. It's been given to us down from our ancestor, from our parent, from an adult, a figure, from friends, from a whole bunch of different people. And we kind of unconsciously download them. Some of them we don't even know, we just imprint. And as a child, we took that on. But to summarize what you said, because it's so important, is that on this journey, it is a journey. I want the women that are listening that this is just a journey of going through this whole process again. And just when you work with a coach, like working with Maxine or working with me, is that we really give you clarity of rediscovering who you are, what you want to be, and being authentic, standing into your power. Because you have so much, if you're able to nurture and do so much for others, can you imagine the power that lies within? And most of us women don't realize that. So I think like what we do. I know.
It's true. We don't use our powers on ourselves. We give it to everybody else, don't we?
Yeah.
And just save a little and realize that, so in finance, just to kind of equate it to something, if you work with any financial advisor, they'll tell you, pay yourself first.
Yeah.
In other words, what money you make, set some aside, right? And then the rest is for budgeting and whatever, but you've saved. Why don't we do the same with the self-care? Pay yourself first, make sure you are well, and then look at all the wonderful things that you can do and budget that.
Yeah.
And I know it sounds silly and very simplistic, but if you think of it that way, you only have so much to give. You have a budget. But there's only so much of your mind, body, and physical self, right, and your brain to go around. You only have so much energy in a day. You only have so many hours and time to spend it. Budget it, but pay yourself first. You cannot deplete yourself to beyond recognition, because when you do, you're not just hurting yourself. You're hurting everybody who loves you.
because it's a repercussion. You think that when you take a decision, the decision that you make to care for everybody, to tend for everybody and self-sacrifice yourself. And one of the biggest pitfall that I fell for was being a
A
mother to
martyr,
a martyr. Yes.
martyr, yes.
I can't pronounce that word. Like
You
Mother
did it, you got it.
Teresa. And thinking that was the ideal and that was great. It was self-sacrifice because that's what it meant. I went to school. That's what it meant. Like in my Asian culture, is like the woman just give everything of who she is. She would die for, like Jesus died for everybody. So I'm thinking I should die for everybody else too, until I realized, oh, 1 second, this doesn't quite work. I mean, it works theoretically and all its different stories and the movies I'm watching. And, like I'm a human being with needs. I want to be happy like everybody else that I'm taking care of. So all that just to say, like, it's great to want to help other people. The nurturing part of you is what makes you so amazing as a woman, but just don't forget about yourself. Like Maxine said, you have limited time. There's only so much of energy and devotion that you can give. You have to give some back to you if you want to keep on giving. So
Yeah.
yes.
And the other thing I think that we have stepped away from, and I'd love your thoughts on this, Ry, is that women have lost their their community. So let me see if I can explain it. So 3 or 4 generations ago, the family unit looked completely different to what it looks like today.
Yeah.
And women tended to gather together and be together in households. So you would often find a grandmother, a mother, a daughter, and even a grandchild all taking and participating in a community household, right? You'd all be physically close together. And some cultures have maintained that. In America, not so much. In the West, right? But that maternal support system has been broken up. That teamwork environment where everybody had different roles and did different things within the family to help and support each other and gather and share resources has been broken up. We've got, just look at the states. You have probably kids in several different states. You've got your parents in another state or another country, and there's no network anymore.
Yeah.
So every support element that a woman naturally historically had falls now on her. So in her mind and her culture and all of the things that are residual around that, she's still got this thought that has to, all of that role has done, but she's doing it. So the best thing that we can really do as women is to support each other and build that community, rebuild that community, have places for you to be and share and we need that. Nobody can survive well without community, and it needs to be a place of no shame, no blame, no judgment, just constant support. And sometimes it's okay to yell and kick and scream and be angry.
Oh, absolutely.
Gotta get it out.
It actually feels good. I do that sometimes. I don't do it all the time. But when I do need to get it out, a good punching bag, kickboxing and stuff. Oh my God, does wonders.
But you don't need a man telling you how to fix it, which is what men love to do. That's their role in life. That's where they gravitate to, right? They'll sit there and they'll listen to you, and then they'll tell you how to fix it. And sometimes we don't. Well, often we don't want that. We want them to walk and understand the journey that we're sharing, the story that we're sharing, and just listen.
They're pre-programmed that way, and I mean they mean it in the most loving, kind way.
Yeah.
That's what their brain resort to. That's how they do it. But we only want to be heard. Like we talk. I say that often to my boyfriend. I don't need to know what to do. I already know what to do. I am just talking it out loud so that you hear me and that you be on my side. That's all I really care about. I'll fix the problem.
But we're emotional beings. We live more emotionally than men. That's part of our biology, actually. That's how we attach to each other. It's an emotional attachment. It's all part of that nurturing thing. Giving birth to a child is an attachment They were physically part of you. You have birthed, and now part of your heart lives outside your body. That's what we do. We're emotional creatures, and we're amazing. And do you know what else? Women, I call them force multipliers. We take anything, give it to a woman, she'll make it better. She'll make it bigger, she'll make it shinier, she'll create a wonderful meal from these little ingredients. She will sew something, knit some. Women are force multipliers. We naturally are drawn to grow and nurture and make
I love that
things
term
better.
because we really are those. And remember that. And in a community is good for both women and men. I'm a big supporter for men as well. Men talk a different language than women, and the brotherly love is just so cute. So I sometimes envy the brotherly love from the men more than women, because I think we need in some way we have so much strength, but there is something about the brotherly love that woman hasn't gotten it right because we're so competitive with each other. Yeah.
Oh, yes. Now, as you get older, that competitive side goes away because, again, it's hormonal.
Yes.
So you will find that community of women who are older, who've been through that menopause stage or whatever, the competition goes away. And it's quite refreshing because I don't think women, and to include myself, really realize that they're doing that kind of positioning sometimes, competitive positioning with another woman. And when it's not there anymore, you can have so much fun. So much fun. Because you don't care anymore. I say you don't care. What you care about has changed.
Yes. It
And
has
you
evolved.
and look at all the experiences you've had and wealth of knowledge. And you can share stories and learn some wonderful things from other women that you might not have otherwise had the opportunity to. So I think we deserve better, to do better in that, with women, with each other, recreating the community that has been naturally lost or broken up, scattered to the wind. Yes, men need to be involved in that. They absolutely do. But they don't want to play sometimes, right? We need a safe space for women to be women, as men have their safe places to be men. So, and then the understanding will come about because communication comes from better understanding. So when you understand what is going on and how you feel, you talk to each other better.
Yes, absolutely.
It's got to be a better thing. So what I'm really, really all about is empowering women to really kind of go back in, to come back out, empower themselves, realize that they are so valuable. They have so much to offer. Don't drink the Kool-Aid and believe that everything you're hearing, that you don't have much to offer less just because you passed having your children. That doesn't devalue you in any way. Oh my God. Meant to some other women, for Christ's sake. They need it. Just don't buy into that suppressed level of living, because that's really
you said it so well. Don't drink the Kool-Aid. It's very, very, very attractive and very, very enticing. Don't drink the Kool-Aid. Always questions things. Don't take it literally, word for word. I mean, we have to learn the hard way. Now I question pretty much everything, but in a healthy way, not too ridiculous. We're coming close to the hours. I'm gonna have to have you back on to my show again, because we can dive. There's so much. We only cover like a layer of it, but I think you gave so many powerful things. So where can people reach you, Maxine? Because the work that you do, especially for women, because it's so aligned. We do similar thing, but your strategy is different from mine. So when you talk, my heart feels it. And I know what it feels like when we help them, like the women, like really just break out of their shell and they're shining and they're thriving again and they're living and they're loving life. It's amazing to watch. So I know the feeling. And I think it's so, so important. So how can they find you, Maxine? Like, what is your website and how can they reach you?
Well, I've attracted myself to this title of my business, which is Expectations Reset, because in the journey that we do, we strip away all the expectations and we choose which ones we want to live with. So it's a wonderful outcome of the process that we go through. So that's my website. And I guess, would you put a link perhaps to
I will be
yeah.
when I put it on social media, there's all of that as well.
Fantastic. Because what I'd like to do, and
Yes.
really this new niche, I would love to offer anybody who's watched this, who's interested, this resonates.
Yeah.
A discount to kind of working with me if they're interested. But to get that, if they could just click on and book a session, 30-minute introduction. It's complimentary, but use the word extraordinary. So I'm stealing your title of your podcast, which is beautiful.
Perfect.
And then and if they choose to work with me, then we will work at discounted rates, because I want to get this out there. It's important to me, and it's important to do it. So yeah, the best way is I'm going to give that link to the booking to Ry, so she can put that in here. And if you want to email me, that's the other way to contact me. So it's pretty easy. It's Maxine and the @ and expectations with an s-reset.com. That's my direct email. Just reach out. Let's have a chat. Let's set some time aside where we can kind of, talk about the coaching that I do, but more importantly, talk about where you are and why where you are and what support you might be looking for.
Exactly. That's Maxine. That's Maxine. Okay.
Thank you. I never even think of spelling that. Yeah.
I just want to make sure that people can reach you, but I'll write that all out. Maxine, thank you for this incredible hour together. And I want you to leave with the last word of inspiration to people. What is your one quote? If you were to leave people inspired, what would that be?
Oh gosh, I really honestly, with coaching, this speaks volumes to me. This is what happens when you get to be coached. You get clarity, you get insights, and then you can move forward with deliberate action, because when you do that, you can make meaningful change in your life. So I shorten that. Clarity, insight, and deliberate action makes meaningful change. That's the winning formula right there.
I love it. Maxine, you're a bubble of joy and just full of inspiration. I'm giving you a huge hug. Thank you. You're an amazing guest. And I know that my audience is definitely going to enjoy this. So more power to the woman out there, as well as the men, if they're listening to this. Really, there's nothing more important than kind of coming back home to who we are and being the true person that we were meant to be on this earth. So definitely. Thank you so much. I love you very much.
Love you too. Thank you. You take care. All right then. Bye. Bye.